Hello, and welcome back to Internalize, the podcast that is almost never on time and almost always 2 days late. And today is no different. What's up? Welcome back. Today is going to be slightly different in terms of what I'm going to, what the topic is for today's pod. But yeah, but it's going to be fun, I think. Uh, Now I was thinking, oh yeah, uh, pardon the maybe slightly below average audio quality. I'm not using my pop filter because I'm just kind of too lazy to set it up. I'm just using the mic, so you might hear a bit of and stuff. So yeah, just pardon me. And if you're listening on YouTube, why not go to Spotify or other platforms? I use Pocket Casts myself, but as someone who uses Anchor, I mean, technically it doesn't exist. It is called Spotify for podcasters. As someone who uses that, I feel somewhat obliged to shill for Spotify at least a little bit. But yeah, why not save this on your podcast app of choice on YouTube Music that has podcasts now? I didn't know that, but it does. On Pocket Casts, on Apple Podcasts. It is new recent addition, maybe a couple of weeks back. But yeah, if you are on YouTube, make sure to save it. Make sure to listen on your podcast apps of choice. And if you're on the podcast apps, you're probably not missing too much if you're on YouTube. I mean, if you're on podcast apps, because I'm not really recording the podcast as, someone like Waveform Marcus Brownlee does. So yeah, anyway, let's get into today. Today I am going to talk about FTX. I want to talk about FTX because FTX fell off, FTX died, and it's fun talking about things that died. So FTX, for anyone unaware, is basically a crypto exchange with a built-in digital wallet. So I guess with crypto you have hardware and software wallets. I guess FTX was a software wallet. Honestly, to be honest, just as a disclaimer before you get into this, I'm not entirely sure if I understood what I read about the fall of FTX completely. I can never be sure about that. I don't know enough to be sure about that, but I'll try to at least I hopefully my preliminary understanding is like decent. At least I know vaguely what happened, maybe not the details perfectly, but people who are just totally unaware that such a thing happened, maybe this could be useful. But yeah, and yeah, I know absolutely nothing about crypto, which I don't know. Some people may like, uh, some people may not. I don't know anything about crypto, so this is going to be slightly non-jargonistic. People who are into crypto will probably get a bit mad at me, but that is all right because no one listens anyway. So anyway, FTX, as I said, it was an exchange and a wallet. It was basically like a Robinhood mixed with Robinhood for crypto. And yeah, at one point, FTX was the third largest crypto exchange by volume of transactions, which is crazy. I think I don't know what was number one, number two. Binance is probably up there. But what happened around like late October, early November last year is that FTX declared bankruptcy and their CEO Sam Bankman-Fried and many other top execs resigned. So the question now becomes, what happened to FTX? Before I get into that, I think it's somewhat necessary to understand what FTX's business model was. Uh, and honestly, I don't know enough about it myself, but I tried to understand what people have, well, analyzed and written about. So yeah, so basically, they made money. They made money by like through trader fees or whatever they call it. Um, like so, whenever there are exchanges, whenever you buy or sell something on FTX, they probably make a cut. I think they did make a cut, but they also made money using like that fly using a flywheel model which was popularized. I don't know if it was popularized. I know it was a company called Celsius, which is another crypto related company, was sort of famous for doing it as well. But yeah, they also did this. Basically what happened is they created their own coin called FTT, and basically whenever they made money they spent that money in buying more of the FTT token, and well, keeping the price up of the FTT token. So uh and so when you own this FTT token, I guess it's seen as assets, right? So the when they made money they would buy FTT, and it would like drive the price of FTT up, and thus the valuation of their assets would increase, and therefore they could they could get investment. And well, that did work because FTX got an absolute butt ton of investments. They had, I think, $1.8 billion over 7 rounds of funding, and I think the most recent round was March of last year, 2022. But yeah, I don't know. But there's something that's not like that great about it, which is that since FTX owns basically almost all of FTT token, if they are forced to sell it off, well, the the money they get, not just the money they get, the value of the token will just crash. I guess that's what it's called, a crypto crash. But yeah, so all that thing, yeah, it's an illiquid asset, right? So if they're forced to sell off everything, they cannot do so at one shot without losing absolute tons of money. So yeah, um, basically, FTX would and Alameda, who I will come to actually, they spent a lot into FTT as well as Solana and other tokens that Bankman Fried invested in initially, SPF. So yeah, now the fall is a little bit more interesting. So first, let's talk about Alameda. Alameda Research was basically a hedge fund that was created by Bankman Fried, and it would basically do a bunch of like risky transactions, and of course, they lost an absolute ton of money. And uh, I think what was figured out is that they were basically funded pretty much purely by FTX, and like they sent over like 10 billion USD to Alameda, and this is like customers' money, and around like 1 billion dollars are missing. And anyway, so Alameda was, well, in the deep end already. I think they had $7.4 billion in loans in their liabilities. So how we got to know about this is a report by CoinDesk. So CoinDesk revealed that Alameda's balance sheet, which showed the amount of the balance sheets figured out that they invested an absolute ton in FTT, and they would take out loans and put up FTT as collateral, which is kind of crazy anyway. And this amount of money that Alameda had locked up in FTT is crucial because they held 50% of all of the FTT token in the market. So if somehow the price crashed, they would lose an absolute ton of money. So l- this is basically an opportunity for anyone holding a ton of FTT. So Binance, the head of Binance, CZ, um, anyone who's unaware, Binance is another crypto exchange. They were like probably FTX's biggest competitor. So Binance saw this as an opportunity and announced that uh, Binance would liquidate all of its holdings in FTT, and this, well, would push its price down. Now, when this happens in the bank world, it's probably not that big of a deal. Probably wouldn't cause a bank run because, well, monetary insurance is a thing, but that's not a thing in the crypto world. If you have a $1 million, for example, in FTX, and there was even a 1% chance of it going bust, you'll probably pull out all that money, even if that meant giving up like $10,000 in trading fees, because if you lost it all, it would be a much bigger, well, um you'd lose a lot more money, which, because it's how do you say this? You don't have insurance. You lose money, you lose money. No one is forced to give you anything back. So yeah, even the slightest risk of you losing money could prompt a bank run. So this risk of FTX's assets declining in value, as in what happened when this guy, when Binance sold off all the crypto FTT, all the FTT, not all the crypto, of course, not all the crypto, but once they sold off FTT, the price of FTT fell. So people lost confidence to some extent in FTX, I think, and it prompted basically a bank run crypto style. So tons of money was withdrawn from FTX, and since most of this was a liquid, like locked up in illiquid assets that were rapidly depreciating, that is FTT token, they didn't even have money to give people, so they had to stop withdrawals. So Binance actually at this point even suggested that they would buy FTX, but eventually pulled out of that. But yeah, eventually, finally, FTX declared bankruptcy. So the reason this was quite a big deal, and the reason for this is threefold. I think number one is prices of crypto, of course. Prices of major currencies, even like Bitcoin and Ethereum, not even talking about like other smaller altcoins or whatever they call it, or not even like FTT stuff. Major currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum fell massively. Like over 4 days, Bitcoin fell 26% and Ethereum fell 33%. Number two, the public perception of crypto dwindled, especially considering that FTX was the quote unquote golden boy of crypto. No one expected FTX to go under. FTX was seen as the stable one and the one that would never fail. And seeing that even someone like FTX could go under, it kind of reminded people of the instability that exists in the crypto world. And number three is advertising. So FTX advertised a ton. Um, on my blog post, I write FTX advertised a ton into crypto. Mm, I should proofread before I post. Anyway, they advertised a ton and they managed to sponsor a ton of finance creators and huge celebrities like, you know, uh, Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, the finance creators, and celebrities like Shaq and all. No one else comes to mind, but there were definitely quite a few people. And they also became the title sponsor for the Miami Heat's home arena. It's called the FTX Arena or something, and the main sponsor of TSM, the esports team. Now, after FTX died, many businesses lost a ton of money, and these finance YouTubers and other people actually were hit by a $1 billion class action lawsuit because of their link to FTX. Now, this was a pretty big thing in the crypto world, as I already said. So, yeah, again, as a disclaimer, I do not know enough about finance to make, or much less about the crypto world to make any. I cannot suggest that my statements are entirely accurate. I don't think they are, because it's a complex matter. I just wanted to try to understand it myself and just, well, say what I understood. So, yeah, I hope you liked listening. My sources will be in the show notes. And yeah, thanks for listening. And I will see you next week, hopefully.